So we all know chess, the beloved board game that everyone has probably played once in their life, with some people making chess their entire life. However, have you ever thought about what could happen if a chess piece could take two pieces at once? Or if it can move in a different pattern? Or what if it just straight up teleports? Welcome to Chess X Cards, my indie game where chess pieces can do things you would never imagine them to do. How they do that is with cards, and these work like any typical standard card game. You have a deck, you draw cards, you use cards, you discard cards, you draw more cards, the cycle repeats. But how exactly do cards, of all things, work together with a perfectly balanced game of chess? Chess is fundamentally a great board game, but recently there have been complaints of chess basically being solved, with most pointing out how Stockfish can probably beat any human in chess. The main problem comes in the fact that there's no variety between each game. Every game has the same pieces, the same positioning of the pieces, and the same openings, with every piece doing the exact same thing. I want to change that. In the summer of 2023, I started coding a game that aims to solve just that. Chess, but the players can make decisions that cause every game to be different. Chess, but there's enough randomness so no engine can possibly fully solve this game. Chess, but it's new. What is this game, you might ask? Well, it's just Chess X Cards, but that's a different one. After ditching that game because reading my code almost gave me a heart attack, I returned to this idea in October of 2024. You may be asking, what did I add to this game to make it, better? Well... Alright, here's how I managed to make this idea even come into existence. A rational human being will use a game engine, like Unity, to make their life easier, then probably get an artist to help them make the textures. With a combination of online tutorials and pure grinding, the game would eventually be finished, with decent quality thanks to Unity. But notice the keywords, a rational human. I, Primordial Chaos, am not your average rational human. I decided to use a combination of C++ and SFML, which stands for Simple and Fast Media Library. If you want me to go into more detail about how I used SFML, I can make a separate video about that. But if you don't know how SFML works, it basically is my graphics library, giving me a game window, sprites, all that good stuff. To code my game, I use Xcode. To run or test my game, I run the code in Terminal, with Homebrew installed for SFML. Coding a game from scratch is no easy feat, especially since things like animations are incredibly hard in my experience, or maybe I'm just stupid. Add on the fact that I'm hand making all of my textures with pixel art, and you start to see how this can quickly become a lot of work for one person, which is exactly why this grind is unholy. Alright, so I figured I'll probably give a live demonstration of the game, which is probably better than explaining everything in its entirety. So this is the menu screen. There's not much. We have a very badly drawn repeating wood texture in the background. New game, edit deck. I'll explain edit deck later. But first, let's log in. So the UI is very unpolished, but you can type in your username. Now, I don't have a password system that will be coming soon, and this will still say login. This is not fully functional at the current moment, but you're now using the player account. The next step I want to show is edit deck. Now you see there are 8 cards. These cards, I've actually shown off a bit of gameplay before, so you've seen these cards. So you can select cards like this. You see how they turn golden. That means they're selected. If they turn back to red or blue, that means they're unselected. Confirm. Right, you see sometimes it's gray. If you click confirm when it's gray, it shows you please select between 4 and 8 cards. That is the size of a deck. So let's say we select these 4. But what if you want to know what these cards do? Well, you simply right click and then the screen pops up. This down here, it'll be an additional feature in the future. I'll talk about it a bit more maybe in a future video or short. But this card has the selected rook or bishop gains the ability to charge forwards and take down 2 pieces at once, or capture 1 piece and move behind them. And then something easier like this one. This one's inheritance. For 1 turn, the queen inherits the knight's power, and can move like the knight. All of these cards have different abilities, but let's select these 4. Now, something interesting I'll do. This is a separate, different menu screen, and I can insert a username of an account that I've already logged in and selected a deck for. Now you might be wondering, why is there already a deck over here? Well, this is because I've selected the deck before in this Chaos account. I've selected this deck already, and the server saves it. So let's click confirm, and let's go to new game. Now, the UI is, again, very bad. We have create room, and this is supposed to be a refresh button for room list. That has not been created as well. So let's go create a room. Now you see the code 56311. Let's go to the other player now. Alright, now that we're here, we can click new game. We type 56311. This is, again, just for testing purposes. In the actual thing, it'll look a lot better. So let's click enter. And now you see we have a 4-on game between 2 players. Let me explain how the cards work. Each player has 4 cards to start. Any 4 random cards from the deck. Now you might see on the top right, Chaos. So Chaos has a blue card called CXC. This is not shown in the deck selection menu, but this is a hidden card. You see how some of the cards you see on the bottom left, these 2 cards also have blue borders. Let's go to Chaos's point of view. On Chaos's point of view, we can see that he has this blue card, but he can't see the opponent's other blue cards. This is a feature of the game. The red borders are offensive cards. The blue borders indicate defensive cards. Since Chaos is white, he'll be moving first. So let's select the pawn, play a very normal opening. Alright, now it goes to turn 2. Back onto player. Now let's say we want to play a card. This one of my personal favorites, Walking Landmine. When this piece is taken, all pieces, it just blows up, basically. So let's say we want to use this card, and we want to put the landmine on this pawn. So I shall select the card. You see that glows golden, like it does in deck selection. I select this pawn, and then I move it. First thing you see, this thing gains sparkles. Very cool. Next thing you see, when I hover over it, it shows a landmine. This means that this pawn now has the landmine effect. When it gets taken, it blows up. Lastly, you've seen my card has been consumed. Okay, now let's go back onto Chaos's side. Let's say we want to play this card, which I've shown off already, with a queen. So let's just directly get the queen out here. Back onto player, let's say you want to draw a card now. You just have to click an empty space, and boom, you have a new card. Now you may see that player is unable to do anything else in this turn, and that is because drawing a card takes up a turn. Finally, back onto Chaos, we can select the queen. We can take this pawn with a landmine, which is a very bad decision, by the way, but I just want to show off this effect. And boom, there you go. The queen is dead, the pawn is dead because the queen captured it. Their pawn is dead because it was in the blast radius of 3x3. And now it is back onto black or player's turn. Now one last thing I want to show off is effects. To best demonstrate this, I have this card over here. This basically restricts the opposing queen, so it cannot move or be taken. So let's play this card. You don't have, and then you can play any normal move. You see how the card is consumed, and now when you click effects, restraining order 1 basically meaning there's a black player. If it's 0, it will mean the white player played it. 104 means it is this is the first turn of the effect. After 4 turns, the effect will be gone. The opposing queen will be able to move again. Of course, you're not able to see that because the opposing queen is currently dead. One last feature. This, for example, is a rook-specific card. But what if we play this card while playing a bishop move? Will anything happen? No, nothing will happen. The card will not be used. The bishop moves like normal. The turn updates like normal. Nothing extra will happen. And everything else was pretty self-explanatory. Wins, losses, the turns, check and checkmate. They work like normal. Although there's no checkmate in this game. You have to directly capture the opponent's king. And that's about it. So, yeah, that's basically the entire game demonstrated. Obviously, there's still a lot I have to do. For example, some textures right now look terrible. and there are still a lot of features that haven't been implemented, including one core mechanic that I may or may not be delaying, and the entire story. Yes, there's a story, it serves as a tutorial and introduction. Now that this video is uploaded, I'm going to be doing some periodic documentation via shorts or other videos, but feel free to comment if you have any ideas or suggestions yourself, both for chess cards and future videos. I might not be only doing chess cards in the future, maybe I'll do another game based on your suggestions, who knows. Alright, so I figured I'd show off a bit of the code here for those who are interested. So first of all, this is how I update the code in terminal. Don't ask me how this fully works. I got this off of a tutorial online, but yeah, see, you can see I use homebrew. I use SFML within the homebrew, and I have to import all of these like libraries and stuff in order for all the code to work. This is the client code. I just named it chessx cards. And this is the main file. So this is opening and closing the game window. This stuff over here, I have this enumerator called GS, which stands for game state, and this has menu, username entering, deck building, room search, which is just what happens when you click new game, and then of course the actual game itself. A bit of code over here. Message is for the messaging feature that I have mentioned before. Now onto game.cpp and HPP. This pretty much handles all of the stuff, including windows and actually drawing the stuff on the window. The most important part here is process click. This takes up a bit over a third of this entire file, and it basically determines if I left click or right click, what happens in this specific game state. And of course you see over here, I also have this enumerator set up. Piece. I used to have everything for the movement algorithm in piece, but I moved it to server, so now piece is pretty empty. But yeah, you see here you have everything from alive, first move. These are related to some of the cards. So you see landmine, this is one of the cards that I showed off previously. Networks, this is responsible for the communications with the server. This basically sends information to server to either update it or say, hey, maybe I updated my deck, or I'm going to leave the room, I'm going to close the game, things like that. This goes to the HPP file. UI, pretty much all of UI is within this load textures function, which has every single texture loading and assigns every sprite or text its texture or font. So for example, I've made this setup textures to make things easier for me, as I use pixel font for everything, and then I have this function to make life easier, but pretty much all of this is pretty self-explanatory. Account, there's not much in account, wins, losses, things like that. And card, there's also not much in card. Now we can take a look at my server-sided code. Main doesn't really have that much. The bulk of the stuff is in connect, which essentially is server's version of networks. So the most important part here is this entire if chain of if the request inside the packet is login, message, room list, make, move, blah, blah, blah. And then I have all of these different functions for all of these different ifs. Making move, this is the biggest one. And this is because it directly correlates to piece. This is where all of the movement algorithm is in. This entire chunk, when I was first developing like movement, this entire chunk was in client. But now I've moved it over because it's much harder to hack the server than to hack the client, in my opinion. And also it makes my life easier because I have one place where I check if the move is valid. So check piece, just basically the basic movement check. The other bigger check is movement check. This basically only applies to bishop, rook, and queen. And yeah, this basically determines if it has an obstacle in its path. If it does, the move is not valid, obviously. And then we have some smaller things. Teleport check, for example. If the card index is equal to 3, 3 represents teleport, then it is able to, teleport. And yeah, everything else here should be pretty self-explanatory. This is basically the same, except the functions are just extra functions as shown within piece.cpp. Now it's room.cpp. This basically has the board state and also distributing cards and drawing cards. So whenever you draw a new card and you have to get a random card from the deck, this is what determines what cards you get. Onto file, this is my database, my temporary database. I'm thinking about moving to SQL or maybe a more professional language for that. But for now, this is where I have import and export data. Player, this is pretty much the same as account over here. This is pretty much the same. And card, this is also pretty much the same. These two are basically only here because I have cards and player data in the game and I want to have different classes in order to store them. So yeah, this is an extremely brief demonstration of the code of my game. Oh hey, you made it to the end, which means you probably are interested in my game. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or anything, but I would appreciate it if you can drop a like so others can watch this video too. My goal with this channel is to show that anyone can make a game, or simply pursue their passion just by experimenting, innovating, and challenging themselves. Making chess cards is as much of a journey for me as it is for you viewers, so I hope you can stick around for the ride. Alright, that's it for now. Sayonara, suckers. See y'all in the next video.